Chapter 22. Moxa obeys the Dharma, and when Spire Sand over the story tells how the Tang priest and his two disciples escaped from their troubles and pressed forward. Before long, they had crossed the Yellow Wind Ridge and were heading west across the plain. The time passed rapidly, and summer gave way to autumn. Cold cicadas sang in molting willow trees, and the great fire star sank below the western horizon. As they were traveling one day, they saw the mighty waves of a great river, boiling and raging. "Disciple," called out Sanzang from his horse, "do you see that broad river in front of us? Why are there no boats on it? And how are we going to get across?" "Those are really terrible waves," said Pig when he saw the river. "There aren't any boats to ferry us over." Monkey sprang into the sky, shaded his eyes with his hand, and looked. "Master," he said with horror, "we're in big trouble here. I can cross the river like this with a twist of my waist. I'm afraid you'll never be able to cross it in 10,000 years.
Why is it there? Sanzang asked.
"I can't see the other bank from here. About 300 miles, Monkey replied. "How short the distance, brother?" Pig asked. "These eyes of mine can see what's happening 350 miles away in daytime," Monkey replied. "When I took a look from up in the air just now, I couldn't make out the length of the river, but I could see it was a good 350 miles wide." Depressed and worried, Sanzang reined in his horse and noticed a stone tablet beside the river. The three of them went to look at it, and they saw the words "Flowing Sands River" inscribed on it in the ancient curly style. On the base of the tablet were 4 lines in a standard script. 300 miles of flowing sands, 3,000 fathoms of weak water, on which a goose feather will not float, and the flower of a reed will sink. As the three of them were looking at this tablet, they heard the waves make a roar like a collapsing mountain as a most hideous evil spirit emerged from the water. A head of matted hair as red as fire, a pair of staring eyes gleaming like lamps, an indigo face, meaning like lamps, an indigo face neither black nor green, a dragon's voice like drums or thunder. On his body a cloak of yellow goose down, tied at the waist with white creeper. 9 skulls hung around his neck, and in his hands was an enormous staff. The monster came to the bank in a whirlwind and rushed straight at the Tang priest. Monkey picked Sanzang up at once, turned, and made off up the high bank. Pig dropped his carrying pole, grabbed his rake, and struck at the evil spirit, who parried the blow with his staff. Each of them showed his prowess on the banks of the flowing sands river, and it was a fine battle. The 9-pronged rake and the ogre quelling staff. 2 men fighting on the banks of the river. One was the great commander Tian Peng, the other the banished curtain lifting general. They used to meet in the Hall of Miraculous Mist, but now they were locked in ferocious combat. The rake had dug deep into clawed dragons. The staff had defeated tusked elephants. When either was held defensively, it was rock solid. In attack, they cut into the wind. While one clawed at head and face, the other never panicked or left an opening. One was the man-eating monster of the flowing sands river. The other was a believer. And cultivating his Honda. The pair of them battled on for 20 rounds, but neither emerged as the victor. The great sage, who was holding on to the horse and looking after the luggage after carrying the Tang priest to safety, became worked up into such a fury at the sight of Pig and the monster fighting that he ground his teeth and clenched his fists. When he could hold himself back no longer, he pulled out his cudgel and said, "Master, you stay here and don't be afraid. I'm gonna play with him." Ignoring Sanzang's pleas for him to stay, he whistled, jumped down to the side of the river, and found that the fight between Pig and the ogre was at its height. Brother Monkey swung his cudgel and aimed it at the ogre's head, but the ogre made a lightning turn and plunged straight into the river. "Pig, what's happening, man? Nobody asked you to come." "Nobody asked you to come, elder brother," he said. "That ogre was tiring, and he could hardly fend my rake off. With you more around, I would have captured him, but you gave him such a fright that he ran away, damn it." "Brother," said Monkey with a smile, "I must tell you frankly that the sight of you fighting so beautifully gave me an uncontrollable itch. I haven't used my cudgel for a whole month since we came down the mountain after dealing with the yellow wind monster. I just had to join in the fun." How was I to know that the monster wouldn't want to play and was going to run away? The 2 of them then clasped hands and went back talking and laughing to Sanzang. "What? Did you catch the ogre?" "No," Monkey said. He couldn't take any more and dived back into the water. He has lived here for a long time, disciple Sanzang said, and must know the shallows and deeps here. We must have a water expert to lead us across this vast expanse of weak water that has no boats. Yes, said Monkey, as the saying goes, what's near Cinnabar goes red, and what's next to ink turns black. As that ogre lives here, he must be a water expert, so if we catch him, we shouldn't kill him, we should make him take you across. Master, before finishing him off. There's no time to lose, brother, said Pig. You go and catch him while I look after the master. This is something I can't talk big about, said Monkey with a smile. I'm not all that good at underwater stuff. Even to walk underwater, I have to make a magic hand movement and recite a water repelling spell before I can move. The only other way I can get about there is by turning myself into a fish, a shrimp, a crab, or a turtle. I can manage any strange, wonderful magic on a mountain or in the clouds that you can do, but when it comes to underwater business, I'm useless. When I was the commander of the Milky Way, the Heavenly River, in the old days, said Pig, I had a force of 80,000 sailors, so I know a bit about water. But I'm afraid Betty might have generations of clansmen down there, and that would be too much for me. And if they got me, we'd be in a real mess. You go into the water and start a fight with them there, said Monkey. Don't fight hard, don't win. You must lose and lure him out. Then I can finish him off for you. Very well then, I'll be off, said Pig. After stripping off his brocade tunic and removing his shoes, he swung his rake in both hands and made his way into the water, where the tricks he had learned years back enabled him to go through the waves to the riverbed, across which he advanced. The ogre had now recovered his breath after his earlier defeat, and when he heard someone pushing the waters aside, he leapt to his feet to look. Seeing that it was Pig brandishing his rake, the monster raised his staff and shouted at him, Where do you think you're going, monk? Watch out and take this. Pig warded off the blow with his rake and replied, Who are you, evil spirit? And why are you blocking the way? You may not realize who I am, the monster replied, but I'm no fiend, demon, ghost, or monster, and I don't lack a name either. If you're not a fiend, a demon, or a monster, then why do you live here taking life? Tell me your name, truthfully, and I'll spare you life. I, the monster replied, have had a divine essence since childhood and have wandered all over heaven and earth. I've won glory among the heroes of the world, and brave knights have taken me as their model. I've traveled at will over countries and continents. Whenever I liked in lakes and seas to study the way I went to the edge of the heavens, and I roamed the wastes in search of teachers. In those days I had a cassock and an alms bowl, and I kept my mind and spirit well controlled. I traveled the earth by cloud some dozen times, visiting everywhere on 100 journeys. The immortal I finally managed to find led me along the great and shining way. First I gathered mercury and weed, then I let go of the mother of wood and metal's father. The kidney water behind my brow entered my mouth, and the liver fire in my wine pipes entered my mouth, and the liver fire in my wine pipes entered my heart. With 3,000 accomplishments won, I bowed to the heavenly countenance. Piously, I worshipped him in his glory. The great Jade Emperor then promoted me to be the general who lifts the curtain. I was honored within the southern gate of heaven, supreme before the hall of miraculous mists. At my waist was hung the tiger tally, in my hand I held my demon-quelling staff. My golden helmet shone like sunlight, on my body gleamed a suit of armor. I led the escort for the emperor's carriage, always took precedence when he entered or left court. But then the queen mother gathered the teachers and invited all the generals to feast at the jade pool. I carelessly smashed some jade and crystal, to the horror of all of the heavenly gods. The Jade Emperor, in his terrible fury, put his hands together and fumed to the vice premier. My head and armor were removed, and I was stripped of office, then marched to the place of execution. Then, to my good fortune, the great barefoot immortal stepped forward to ask for my reprieve. Death was commuted. I was allowed to live in exile on the east bank of the flowing sands river. When well fed, I sleep in the river waters. When hungry, I sleep in the river waters. Burst through the waves in search of food. If a woodcutter meets me, his life is finished, no fisherman sees me and survives. In one way and another, I've eaten many a man, cloaked as I am in an aura of death. As you've dared to come to make trouble at my gates, my belly has something to look forward to today. No matter if you're coarse and don't taste good, when I've caught you, I can cut you up for salted mince. Pig was extremely angry to hear this, and he replied, "You're completely blind, wretch. I can catch bubbles in my fingers, so how dare you say that I'm so coarse you'll cut me up for salted myths? So you take me to be a very well-cured side of ham. Don't be impudent, take a dose of this rake." When the monster saw the rake coming at him, he did a phoenix nod to avoid it. The two of them fought their way up to the surface of the water, where each of them trod on the waves as they struggled in a combat that was even fiercer than their previous one. The curtain-lifting general and Marshal Tien Pen each gave a splendid show of magic powers. The ogre-quelling staff wheels around the head. The nine-pronged rake is swift in the hand. As they leap on the waves, they shake hills and rivers, darkening the world as they push the waters aside, as terrible as the disaster star striking banners and pendants, as frightening as lifting the canopy off the Death Star. One was the loyal defender of the Tang priest, the other, a criminal, was an ogre of the waters. Where the rake struck it left 9 scars. When the staff smote, all the souls were scattered, cheerfully fighting for all they were worth. They put all their hearts into the combat. Although he is only a pilgrim fetching scriptures, his unrestrained anger bursts against the sky. Such was the chaos that the fishes lost their scales, while the soft shells of terrapins were crushed. Red prawns and purple crabs all lost their lives, and all the gods of the water palace prayed to heaven. The only sound was the thunder of crashing waves. Sun and moon were dark, to the horror of earth and sky. They battled on for 4 hours, but the issue was still undecided. It was as if a brass pen was fighting an iron brush, or a jade chime was competing with a golden bell. The great sage, who was standing beside the Tang priest to guard him, watched the fight on the water with longing, unable to do anything. Then Pig fainted with his rake, pretended to be beaten, and made for the eastern bank with the ogre rushing after him. When he had almost reached the bank, Monkey could hold himself back no longer. Abandoning his master, he sprang down to the river's edge with his cudgel in his hand and took a swing at the ogre's head. Not daring to face him, the monster went straight back into the river. "Protector of the horses!" Pig shouted. "You impatient ape! You should have taken it a bit more slowly and waited till I'd drawn him up to high ground and then cut him off from the riverbank. Then he wouldn't have been able to go back and we'd have caught him. But now he's gone back in, he'll never come out again. Don't shout, idiot!" Monkey said with a smile. "Don't shout. Let's go back and see our master." When Pig reached the top of the bank with Monkey, Sanzang bowed to him and said, "You've had a tough time, disciple." "I wouldn't say that," Pig replied. "But if we captured that evil spirit and made him take you across the river, that would have been the perfect solution." "How did your battle with the evil spirit go?"
Sanzang asked.
"He's as good as me," Pig replied. "When I pretended to be beaten in the fight, he chased me to the river's edge. But then he saw elder brother waving his cudgel, so he ran away." "So, what are we going to do?" Sanzang asked. "Relax, master," said Monkey. "There's no need to worry. It's getting late, so you better sit on the bank while I go and bag some food. When you've eaten that, you can go to sleep and we can decide what to do tomorrow morning." "Good idea," said Pig. "Be as quick as you can." Monkey leapt up on his cloud, went due north to a house where he begged some food and came back to give it to his master. "See him come back so soon," Sanzang said to him. "Monkey, let's go to the house where you begged this food and ask them how to cross this river." "That would be better than having to fight this ogre." "That would be better than having to fight this ogre. But that house is a long way away," laughed Monkey. "It's about 2,000 miles from here. What would be the point in asking them about this river? They wouldn't know anything about it." "You're telling tall stories again," Pig said. "If it's 2,000 miles away, how did you get there and back so fast?" "You wouldn't know, of course," Brother Monkey replied, "that my somersault cloud can cover 36,000 miles with a single bound. To do a mere 2,000-mile return journey takes only a couple of nods and a bump. There's nothing to it." "If it's so easy, brother,"
said Pig,
"you should carry the master on your back, take him across with just a couple of nods and a bow, and save us all the trouble of fighting the monster." "You can ride clouds, can't you?" said Monkey. "Why don't you carry the master across?" "The master's mortal flesh and bones are heavier than Mount Ta," said Pig. "So if I can ride clouds, I could never lift him." "Then I bet your somersault will do the trick." "My somersault will do the trick." "My somersault is the same as cloud riding," Monkey said, "except that it takes you further. I'm no more able to carry him than you are." As the old saying goes, Mount High is as easy to move as a mustard seed, but a mortal cannot be dragged away from the earthly dust. When that other poisonous monster of a fiend made a magic wind, I could only move the master by dragging and tugging him along the ground. Of course! I can do tricks like that, and all those other ones like making myself invisible or shrinking land. But although our master cannot escape from the sea of suffering, he wants to go to a foreign land, so he finds every inch of the way heavy going. All we can do is escort him and see that he comes to no harm. We can't undergo all that suffering on his behalf, nor can we fetch the scriptures for him. Even if we went ahead to see the Buddha, he wouldn't give the scriptures to you or me. After all, if we could get them that easily, we'd have nothing to do. The idiot accepted everything Monkey said. Then they ate some plain rice without any vegetables, after which the three of them went to sleep on the eastern bank of the flowing Sands River. Monkey, said Sanzang the next morning, what are we going to do about it today? There's nothing for it but to send Pig back under the water, Monkey replied. You're making me go underwater because you want to stay dry, brother, Pig protested. I won't be impatient this time, Monkey said. I think he's luring that onto the bank and then I'll cut him off from the river. That way we'll be bound to catch him. Dear Pig rubbed his face, summoned up his energy, took his rake in both hands, went down to the river and parted the waters as he went back to the monster's lair once more. The ogre, who had only just woken up, turned to see what was happening the moment he heard the waters being pushed apart. Observing that a rake-wielding pig was upon him, he sprang to his feet to stop him, shouting, "Not so fast! Not so fast! Take this! Take that!" Pig backed the blow from the staff with his rake and said, "What do you mean by telling your ancestor to take this from that mourner staff of yours, you know?" "Nothing, you wretch," the monster replied, continuing. "Great is the fame of this staff of mine, made from a salad tree on the moon. Whoa, Gang cut down a branch of it for Luban to work with his unrivaled skill. A strip of gold goes right through its heart, and it is set with countless pearls. It is set with countless pearls. It is set with countless pearls." Yeah. A precious staff, fine for subduing fiends. It could quell all demons when it guarded the heavenly palace. When I was commissioned as High General, the Jade Emperor gave it me to use. It can be any length I wish. It can be any length I wish, thick or thin, responding to my will. It protected the Emperor at peach banquets, attended at court in the upper world. When I was at the palace, it met all the sages. When I lifted the curtain, it greeted the immortals. I nurtured it and made it a divine weapon. This is no ordinary earthly arm. When I was sent down from heaven in exile, I roamed at will throughout the world. I do not need to boast about this staff, unmatched by any spear or saber in the world. Look at that rusty rake of yours, only good for farming or growing vegetables. I'll give you the beating you deserve. Damn you, said Pig. Never mind about vegetable growing one swipe from it, and you'll have nowhere left to put ointment, because your blood will be pouring out from 9 holes. Even if it doesn't kill you, you'll have tetanus for the rest of your days. The ogre dropped his defensive posture and fought with Pig from the riverbed to the surface of the water. This battle was fiercer than the earlier ones. The precious staff whirled, the deadly rake struck, and no word passed between the two foes. Because the Mother of Wood conquered the medicine measure, the pair of them had to fight each other twice. With no victory and no defeat, the waves were overturned and knew no peace. How could the one hold back his anger? How could the other bear his humiliation? As the staff parried the rake's blows, they showed their prowess. Each was most vicious as the flowing sands river rolled. Towering rage, strenuous efforts, all because Sanzang wanted to go west. The rake was thoroughly murderous. The staff was wielded with experience. Pig grabbed his enemy, trying to drag him ashore, while the other in turn tried to pull Pig underwater. The thunderous noise disturbed fish and dragons. Gods and ghosts lay low as the sky was darkened. The battle went on for 30 rounds, but neither emerged victorious. Pig feigned faint once again and fled, trailing his rake behind him. The ogre charged through the waves after him as far as the bank when Pig shouted at him, "I'll get you, you damned ogre! We can fight with dry land under our feet." "You're trying to lure me up there, damn you," the monster replied. "Be your mate to come and get me! Get back and fight in the water!" The fiend, who had more sense than to go up the bank again, stood at the river's edge, shouting it out with Pig. When Monkey saw that the monster was not coming up on the bank, he seethed with frustration at not being able to catch him. "Master," he said, "you sit here while I do a hungry eagle falling on its prey on him." He somersaulted into mid-air, then plummeted down to catch the ogre, who heard the noise of a wind as he was yelling at Pig, turned immediately and saw Monkey descending from the clouds. He put his staff away, plunged into the water with a splash, and was seen no more. "Brother," said Monkey to Pig as he landed on the bank, "the monster's made a smooth getaway. Whatever are we to do if he won't come onto the bank again?" "It's impossible," said Pig. "We'll never be able to beat him. Even if I put everything I've got into it, I can only hold my own against him." "Let's go and see the monster," Monkey said. The two of them climbed the bank and told the Tang priest about the difficulty of capturing the ogre.
It's so hard, said Sanzang, tears streaming down his cheeks.
"However are we gonna cross?" "No need to worry, master," said Monkey. "The monster is lurking deep down on the riverbed where it's very hard to move around. You stay here and look after the master, Pig, and don't fight with the ogre again." "I'm going to fight with the ogre again. I'm going to the Southern Sea." "What for?" Pig asked. "This whole business of fetching the scriptures was started by the Bodhisattva Guanyin, and it was she who converted us. Now we are stuck here at the Flowing Sands River. Nobody but she can sort this one out. With her help, we'll be in a stronger position to fight that monster."
Yes, sir.
"Hey, and when you're there, please thank her for converting me. If you're going to ask the Bodhisattva to come," Sanzang said, "don't waste a moment and be back as quickly as possible." Monkey then somersaulted off on his cloud towards the Southern Sea, and before an hour was up, he saw Ponaraka Island. An instant later, he landed outside the purple bamboo grove, where the 24 divas came forward to greet him with the words, "Why have you come, great sage? Because now we're in trouble," Monkey replied. "I have come for an audience with the Bodhisattva," the diva on duty that day asked. Monkey to sit down while he went in to report, whereupon he went to the tide cave to announce that Sun Wukong was seeking an audience on business. The Bodhisattva was leaning on a balcony looking at the blossoms in the precious lotus pool with the Dragon Princess Pinju when she heard the news. She went back in her cloudy majesty, opening the door and summoning Monkey to her presence. The great sage greeted her with grave reverence. "Why are you looking after the Tang priest?" she asked. "And why have you come to see me?" "My master won a new disciple at Gale Village," Bodhisattva, Brother Monkey reported. "He's called Zubeiji and also has the Buddhist name Wuning thanks to you. We have now reached the Flowing Sands River after crossing the Yellow Wind Ridge, but it's 1,000 miles of Ru River, and my master cannot cross it. On top of this, there's an evil monster in the river who's a great fighter, and although our pig had 3 great battles with him on the surface of the water, he couldn't beat the ogre, who is still blocking our way and preventing my master from crossing. This is why I've come to see you and ask you from crossing. This is why I've come to see you in our mercy to help him across. You haven't revealed your—" "And see once again, you ain't," said the Bodhisattva. "Why didn't you tell the monster that you were protecting the Tang priest?" "We wanted to catch him," Monkey replied, "and make him take our master across the river. As I'm not up to much in the water, Pig was the only one who could find the ogre's den and did all the talking. I expect he never mentioned fetching the scriptures." "The ogre of the Flowing Sands River is the mortal incarnation of the great curtain-lifting general," said Guanyin, "and is a believer whom I converted myself and instructed to protect those who would be coming to fetch the scriptures. If you had told him that you'd come from the east to fetch the scriptures, so far from fighting you, he would certainly have joined you. But the crazy monster is now skulking in the river, too frightened to come out," Monkey said. "So how are we to make him join us? And how are we to make him join us? And how is my master to cross the weak water?" "Take this gourd," she said, "and go with Sun Wukong to the Flowing Sands River. Show Wujing awaken to purity, and he'll come out. First take him to submit to the Tang priest, and then make him thread his 9 skulls on a string like the sacred palaces. If he puts this gourd in the middle of, then it will make a dog boat to ferry the Tang priest across the river." In obedience to the Bodhisattva's command, Guanyin and the great sage took the gourd with them from the tide cave and the purple bamboo grove. There are some lines to describe it. The 5 elements were combined with the heavenly immortal, recognizing their master of the old days. They had been sufficiently refined to achieve great things. When true and false are distinguished, origins are distinguished, origins are seamished, or agents are seen. When metal joins nature, like joins like. When wood seeks the passions, both are lost. When the 2 earths achieve nirvana, fire and water will combine, and worldly dust be no more. A little later, the pair of them brought their clouds down to land on the bank of the flowing sands river. Recognizing Julian as Moxa the novice, Pig led his master forward to meet him. When Moxa had exchanged courtesies with Sanzang, he greeted Pig. Then Pig said, "Thanks to your holiness's instruction, I was able to meet the Bodhisattva, and since then I have obeyed the Buddhist law and had the pleasure of becoming a monk. As I have been traveling since then, I've been too busy to go and thank you. Please forgive me." "Don't be so long-winded," said Monkey. "Let's go and call that wretch." "Ah, Sanzang." "I saw the Bodhisattva," said Monkey, and told her what had happened. She said that the ogre of the flowing sands river is the mortal incarnation of the great curtain-lifting general, who was thrown down to this river as a monster because of a crime he had committed in heaven. He has been converted by the Bodhisattva and has vowed to go to the western heaven with you. If we told him we were going to fetch the scriptures, there would have been none of this bitter fighting. The Bodhisattva has now sent Moxa to give this gourd to that fellow to make a dharma boat that will ferry you across. Sanzang bowed in reverence to the Bodhisattva many times when he heard it, and also bowed to Moxa with the words, "Please do this as quickly as you can, Your Holiness." Moxa then went by cloud and stood over the river with the gourd in his hand. He shouted at the top of his voice. "The pilgrims who are going to fetch the scriptures have been here for a long time. Why haven't you submitted to them?" The ogre, who had gone back to the riverbed for fear of the Monkey King, was resting in his den when he heard his Buddhist name being called and realized that this was a message from the Bodhisattva Guanyin. On hearing that the pilgrims were there, his fears of being attacked melted away, and he pushed his head up through the waves to see that it was Moxa, the novice. Look at him as he bows to Moxa, his face wreathed in smiles. "I'm sorry I did not welcome you properly, Your Holiness," he said. "Where is the Bodhisattva?" "She didn't come," Moxa replied. "She sent me to tell you to be the Tang priest's disciple. You are to take the 9 skulls you wear around your neck, arrange them with this gourd in the pattern of the 9 sacred palaces, and make a dharma boat to ferry him across this weak water." "Where is the pilgrim?" Wujing asked. "There he is, sitting on the bank," said Moxa, pointing at Sanzang. Wujing then noticed Pig and said, "I don't know where that bloody creature is from, but he fought with me for 2 whole days and never said a word about fetching scriptures. And as for this one," he added, noticing Monkey, "he's that one's accomplice and a real terror. I'm not going with them." "They're the disciples of the Tang priest who have been converted by the Bodhisattva. So you have nothing to fear from them. Let me present you to the Tang priest." Wujing put away his sack, straightened his yellow brocade tunic. "Jump." Sure, knelt before the Tang priest and said, "Master, your disciples' eyes have no pupils in them. I beg you to forgive me for attacking your followers instead of recognizing who they were." "You pustule," said Pig. "Why did you fight me instead of submitting? What did you mean by it?" "You can't blame him, brother," said Monkey. "We didn't tell him our names or even mention fetching the scriptures." "Teachings with all your heart?" Sanzang asked. "I was converted by the Bodhisattva," Wujing replied, "and she gave me this river's name as a surname and called me by the Buddhist name of Sha Wujing, or Sand Awakened to Purity. So of course I must follow you, master." "In that case," said Sanzang, bring the razor over Monkey and cut his hair off. The great sage obediently shaved the monster's head, who then bowed to Sanzang, Monkey, and Pig with appropriate degrees of reverence. When Sanzang saw him do this just like a real monk, he gave him another name, Friar Sen. "Now that you have entered the faith," said Moxa, "there's no need to waste time talking. Make that dharma boat at once." Friar San took the skulls from round his neck without delay, then tied them into the pattern of the 9 palaces with the Bodhisattva's gourd in the middle. Then he asked Sanzang to board it, and Sanzang found when he sat on it that it was as stable as a small dinghy. Pig and Friar San supported him to left and right, while Monkey led the dragon horse through the clouds behind him, and Moxa stood above him on guard. Sanzang thus made a calm and windless crossing of the weak water of the flowing sands river. He moved with the speed of an arrow, and it was not long before he climbed ashore on the other side. He was neither wet nor muddy, and his hands and feet were completely dry. Thus it was that master and disciples trod on dry land again without any trouble. Moxa then landed his cloud and took back the gourd. The 9 skulls changed into 9 gusts of wind and disappeared, Sanzang bowed to Moxa to thank him and worshipped the Bodhisattva, after which Moxa returned to the Eastern Ocean, while Sanzang remounted and headed west. If you don't know when they won their reward and fetched the scriptures, listen to the explanation in the next chapter.